All right, welcome back. Today, I got to interview Sal Abbinanti about his new Kickstarter, The Hostage, which is currently running. I know Sal from the Comic Geek Speak community, and we've talked a couple times at cons back when we had those things, more specifically New York Con. So um, we had a little trouble with our recording, but we used a different uh, service other than what I usually use. So we kind of get right into the interview, talking about what I usually talk about or ask first, how he got into comic books and all that. So sit back, enjoy the interview. There is a little language, but it's not too bad. So I will see you at the end, and I'll have pictures and some screen shots of the Kickstarter. All right, take it away. All right, well, yep, here we go.
At the drugstore when I was growing up, and I kind of knew right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's comics are either in your blood or they're not. And I knew from the minute I seen Thor 206, with the Absorbing Man, that I was hooked. And it didn't take much.
And how did you, because you work with Alex Ross, and besides being a creator yourself, how did you get into the industry, or what led you towards? Obviously, the comics did.
I wanted to be an artist, but once you get out of a certain age, your family expects you to grow up and get out of comics. Comics are more acceptable now than they were, back in the 70s. If you said you wanted to be a comic artist, they thought you were crazy. So I went into advertising, and I thought that was a creative way to be an artist. And then because advertising is big in Chicago. I worked at Leo Burnett. I worked at Burson Marsteller. And I seen a lot of creative people there, and they were into comics, some of them. So I used to work on my samples on the side. But I was miserable in advertising. I just felt that, man, it's a sweatshop anyway. So in the 90s, I decided to put my samples together and try to break in when the whole image boom was going and the business was the death of Superman, everything went crazy. I wanted to, I thought, well, I better take a chance. But they wanted none of it. They wanted my samples I went to every portfolio review. I went to every con. I met with every editor of every publisher, and they weren't having it. They wanted a certain house style in those days. And if you didn't talk to an editor who liked your particular kind of work, it wasn't going to happen for you. And I got scathing reviews from my work. So that's when I knew I had to self-publish. Or give it up.
Your first one was.
I'm sorry?
And your first self-published work was Atomica, correct?
Yeah, I did a few small projects for like indie publishers that were probably around for 15 minutes and don't exist anymore. You remember in the 90s, there were like a lot of these little shit publishers that were popping up all over the place just to kind of make money off of comics. And I did a few short stories for them, and they were terrible. And then I just kept hitting the wall, and finally the reality was whatever I was doing, they didn't want it at Marvel and DC. So I said, well, desktop publishing was becoming easier. It wasn't as expensive, and the technology was changing leaps and bounds. So I realized, man, if I don't self-publish, I'm not going to be able to do a comic. So yeah, I did Atomica. But that was really just me wanting to do an American comic book,
And I think that's how I became aware of you, from Atomica and through the Comic Geek Speak episodes.
Yeah, that kind of took on a life of its own, those Geek Speak guys. I don't know how that. It started with Peter. He sent me an email, and I was supposed to be on the show for like 10 minutes. And then I don't know what happened. We just started bullshitting, and then it turned into Uncle Sal. And they're great guys. I mean, it was, I look back at some of those episodes and I must have been out of my mind because I would like ramble for 2 hours and I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about. But see, the problem with Geek Speak was I could never hear them. They had this half-assed system where I talked on the phone, but yet I could never really hear a lot of what they were saying. So there would be these huge gaps of silence. So I would fill the gap and keep going with whatever nonsense I was talking, you know. And then I would hear the recording and I would go, my God, I sound like a lunatic. And I was a lunatic, so it wasn't like.
All right, let's talk about your Kickstarter, which is why we're talking today.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how, what inspired the story?
Well, the hostage was kind of it was a labor of love going all the way back to when I was in college. I went to Brazil with my roommate at the time, his family lived in Rio de Janeiro, and I went there on break for like a month, for 6 weeks, a couple of times, and I fell in love with the place, but I saw a lot of things that I just couldn't unsee. The homeless kids, the kids living in the streets, little kids, begging and surviving off of, sleeping in filth and living in garbage, and the atrocities that were going on there. I just couldn't unsee that stuff. So when I came back to the US, I went there the full of shit college kid. I went there where it was time of your life. You're in your 20s and everything is all rah-rah. And when I came back, it affected me. I mean, there's kind of the reality of life kind of gets to us all at different ages. So I always carried that and felt that when I did a comic, I did a personal, when I knew I was going to have to do an indie comic, I always felt that there was something there that I really wanted to say or I really wanted to convey. And over the years, it just didn't come together. And I did, because it was too personal a project. And I wanted to get in American comics, man. Superheroes were, but with Kickstarter, but when I did Atomica, the business model is very primitive. You put an ad in Diamond, you wait, you see what your orders are, and then you wait and see who orders the book. And unfortunately, most comic stores don't buy indie titles. That's just the reality. And a lot of fans only got so much in their pull list that they want to buy. And you've got your Batman, you've got your Wolverine, you've got your characters. To get somebody to try an indie title is tough. It's like there's a lot of brand loyalty. So, but when I did Atomica, I just felt like there's no way for me to really bang the drum other than put this ad and wait. And you go to cons and you meet. My favorite way to deal with it was to go to cons and do this for us to meet face to face and show you the work, and you can look at it. And, so when I knew I was going to grind and get the hostage, and I started to see what Brian Pulido and Jimmy Palmiotti and Billy Tucci and Boom and different people were doing on Kickstarter, I realized it's not just begging. People, when Kickstarter came out, it was seen as, oh, you're just asking for money. But I didn't see it that way. I see Kickstarter as it's a tremendous new way to market like this. Fans, indie comic fans like that one-on-one with the artist. You're not a big company, so they like that rapport to be able to feel that they're getting the product directly from you. So I thought, and you can make a video and I could show you the art and I can enhance it a little bit to kind of give you a vibe of what the book is about. So the selling tools are there. Now you got to get out and you got to bust your ass a lot more because, man, Kickstarter is a lot of work. And if you don't deal with order fulfillment, you're not getting a second chance because people have been screwed over on Kickstarter. And, they're gun shy about giving credit card numbers and doing that stuff because, there's been some assholes that have not followed through. But I love the fact that I could show you a lot more of the project and talk about the project. Whereas when I did Atomica, you put a one-page ad in Diamond and then you hope the comic stores, like what they see. So it's way more of a crapshoot. And then now, especially, there's no trade shows. So if I wanted to put the hostage out, where am I going to go? I mean, what shows am I going to be able to go to reach, the fan base directly? And Artist Alley is turning into cosplay and the guy from Planet of the Apes is there signing autographs, and the Walking Dead guy is there, and the Lacey Underall from Caddyshack is there showing her tits and selling autographs. So you're competing with that now. It's literally getting drained of comics, of indie comics. And we need indie comics more than ever, man, because Marvel and DC are becoming such house styles and such corporate IPs and corporate about licensing. They only really give a shit about licensing. They don't really give a shit about the characters anymore, in my opinion. But that's okay. You know, it's a business. But, you know, doing indie comics is a grind, but it's okay because, but Kickstarter, I guess to answer your question, is a much better way to do this than, you know, than cons, because there are no cons right now.
And so you wrote and you did the art for the book. Who are the other creators that are, you know, kind of helping you with the other stuff, and how did you know, meet up with them, and what about their work?
I started working with Andrew Dabb, and I worked together on Atomica because he's a great writer. And Andrew, you know, he went off to Hollywood and he became a showrunner for Supernatural, and he's tremendously successful. So when we started The Hostage, he was enthusiastic to continue working with me together. And then it just didn't happen. You know, I understand he's a busy guy, and for whatever reason, the script just wasn't coming together as well as I wanted, and he was always busy. So I knew that it was a personal project and that I wasn't going to let anything, you know, get in the way of doing it. And then I brought in Dave Sharp. Dave Sharp I've known each other a long time. He lettered Atomica. I knew I'm not a letterer, so I brought in Dave. And then Josh Johnson is a guy that I met through Alex Ross, and he's a great designer, and he handled all the pre-production and all the, you know, preparing the files, and he laid out the hardcover and all that stuff. But in terms of the art and the concept and the writing, I did it all myself because I knew that it was a real personal project, and I wanted to get it, you know, see it through.
And talking about the art, I mean, I love your art style, especially when it's very, I think the colors are great for the story that you're telling, because when I see that, I think of Brazil.
Yeah.
And so how long does it take you to do you know, one panel or one page of art? Because I know it's very...
It can vary, because when you're doing an indie book, you have a deadline and you don't have a deadline, you know, because, you know, you're putting it out yourself. But with The Hostage, I worked on it on and off for about 10 years. You know, it was a labor of love. But I also, you know, you're a family man. You know, I also the same way. I have to eat, and I work with Alex and work with Bill Sienkiewicz. So there's times a year where I'm real busy. You know, you got Comic-Con, you got New York, you got different shows, and you got different things that pull you away from being at the studio, being able to work. But so it varied. But I would say that, you know, in all, it's like a 10-year project. It took me 10 years to finish it because I picked it up and put it down a lot. Because you know, look, if you're getting into indie comics to make money, you're in a lot of trouble. You know, I feel sorry for you. Good luck. You know, if Netflix calls you and says, hey, we want to make it into a series, you know.
Yeah.
But you're not motivated by money.
So,
you know.
So what other artists have influenced your style of art for the series?
I would probably say, you know, I always go back to Kirby, because Kirby was less of, well, I got this from him, I got that from him, I use that, you know, the influence is there visually. Kirby's more of a cerebral thing. Kirby's more of a philosophy of what I got from Kirby as a kid was that comics should be a product of your imagination. And so that's how I always felt. When I realized, I tried to do the house style. I tried to draw in a way that I thought editors were going to hire me. It just didn't happen. I mean, I kept inevitably, you know, it looked a certain way, which they said was disturbing or ugly, or Sal, this is too, you know, it's too expressionist. And I heard every adjective there was, except great, here's a sample script, we'll hire you. And, you know, and even Vertigo wouldn't hire me. You know, back in the days when Vertigo says that they were trying, but Vertigo was full of shit because unless you were from a foreign country, Vertigo wouldn't hire you. If I changed my name to Jacques, they might have hired me because the editors at Vertigo always had this insecurity of, oh, foreign artists bring a foreign take on characters that American artists can't. So I did Swamp Thing samples that I would hold up against anybody's Swamp Thing samples, and they rejected them flat. And that's when I was like, all right, this is as good as I could do. And if they don't want it, then I'm out of here. You know, I'm going to do my own shit.
I would love to see some of your Swamp Thing stuff because I think
I'll post them. I'll send them to you. No, I post them every once in a while. I'll show you. I'll send you a lot of the samples I submitted that were all rejected flatly. And I still, but see, if you're an artist, you know, and you want to get into comics, you've got to do it yourself. You can't let them tell you you're not an artist. You know, if you're not any good, then you'll get better. And if me telling you you're not an artist, give it up, is enough for you to stop, then you're really not an artist because you don't really have a choice to be an artist. You have to do it. But if you take advice from a bunch of assholes, and a lot of these guys who were editors back then telling me my work was no good, they're selling storm windows now. You know, they're working in a shoe store. They're not even in comics anymore. So these voices of reason and these geniuses who all said, Sal, you can't be an artist. I don't know where they are now. You know, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, when I see them at cons, I tell them, I go, no, I remember you. You were an asshole to me. And guess what? But, you know, that's why I tell guys, just put out your own book. It's not rocket science. You know, if you fuck it up, no one's going to die. You know, it's your own book. It's your own personal project. I can't tell you it should look this way. It's your book. It's your baby. But there's going to be a lot of perspiration there. You know, there's no shortcut. You know, everybody wants to do a comic until they realize, no, you got to sit down and draw a lot and you're not going to get paid.
Well, I know we're friends on Facebook, so I see some of this, you know, your daily warm-up sketches, and those I think they're pretty awesome. So
thank you. It's when you got kids, you know, you got to keep your sanity. So, you know, there's times when you can concentrate, and then there's times like you're doing now where you're like the plate spinner on Ed Sullivan. You got to keep spinning the plate. Yeah. And then when this one's good, that one's falling, and you got to keep going to keep them from falling. And that's what it's like when you're trying to work with kids. It's tough.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's hand them the iPad or the phone when I'm trying to do something like this.
Yeah. And even then,
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter is going well. I mean, so far you're working on stretch goals. What do you have for people who want to support your project, and even, you know, what stretch goals are you working on? What have you unlocked?
Well, we unlocked, so far we unlocked the Alex Ross card. We're doing a card set and a litho set. We unlocked the Alex Ross. We unlocked the sticker set. There's a variety of stickers. Some of them are kind of homages to classic travel stickers from Brazil, and also the Hostage and Mercury Comics logo. Mercury Comics is just basically me. People kill me. They're like, oh, who's this publisher? I'm like, my kitchen table is basically Mercury Comics. And I wanted the Hostage to stay a personal work. So like with Atomica, I knew I needed some big name guys to put on the cover to give comic store owners a reason to kind of buy it, you know. But with the Hostage, I wanted it to stay personal and do my own covers and all that. But I also realized from marketing it, you need those stretch goals. So I was fortunate enough that I got Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz and Jeff Darrow and Eric Powell and San Julian and Jeffrey Allen Love. These are some artists that are really great guys who contributed. And, you know, we're offering a lithograph set as one of our stretch goals, a postcard set, originals that I'm doing from stuff like this, personal, postcards, and that are all hand drawn. Every one of them is custom hand drawn. They're not, copies or two bookmark sets. I mean, I worked with a few people on Kickstarter, because I've never done Kickstarter. It's my first one, but the people I talked with, you have to have, you have to give perks. People like perks. They like stuff. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to give puppies away or make the hostage, give these little plushies, because it's not that kind of book, So as long as the stuff kind of is in line with the book and in line with the theme of the book, I'm cool with it. Because at first I was like, you want to do what? All kinds of ideas come your way, puppets and hair clips, and I said, guys, come on, I'm not, I'm like, take it easy, I go, why don't we just have hostage, like, hand sanitizer too, you carry it on your
Yeah.
So Alex was one of the first ones to offer, and then Bill Sienkiewicz, I felt was perfect for the project because of his style and how much of his work has influenced me. And
I can see that.
And Eric Powell's been different. Yeah, no, I there's a tremendous, an artist, like I said, Bill, you learn a lot from, in the sense of always trying to stretch, always trying to exaggerate, always trying to surprise yourself, do new things, and not be afraid to go out on the branch a little bit further. And when you're an indie guy, you can do that because you don't have an editor to ask, to answer to. So I thought, why not? I was not going in the front door, so I thought, why not?
All right. Was there anything that else?
I wanted to.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that
kind of stuff, but wasn't going to happen.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to maybe mention about the project, or?
No, it's a very personal project, and I just hope people would give it a shake, and I appreciate any support. I mean, we have PDF versions in English and in Portuguese. We have, you can donate $1. You can support. I don't even consider it donating. I consider it supporting. And you can go on the site, you can go on the Kickstarter page and look at a lot of samples of the art to see if it's your cup of tea. If you're in for the Alex Ross litho, I can live with that. If you're in for the Bill Sienkiewicz litho, and you're like, Sal, I don't know about your book, you're not telling me anything I haven't heard. But I guarantee you this: the hostage isn't like anything you've seen before. For better or for worse, my style is what it is. It's not Mark Bagley. It's not Powerpuff Girls. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, where can people? Like I said, I'll put the Kickstarter link in the show notes. But where can people follow your stuff? Follow you on social media?
Yeah, I'm all over social. I'm Sal Abbinanti, or Mercury Comics, on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook, and and on if you type in the hostage, on the Kickstarter page, you'll see. I mean, it'll be pretty obvious what's mine. It's not Archie and Jughead, so you'll kind of make it out pretty quick. But yeah, no, I'm everywhere on social media. Under either Sal Abbinanti or Mercury Comics.
Okay, well, great catching up with you, and
I appreciate
best of luck as the Kickstarter,
Thank you.
Kind of,
continues
really well. And wraps up. You are
really well.
Hopefully, hopefully, maybe, I don't know about this year, but maybe the year after that, we'll meet up at New York or something.
I think probably next year for sure. I mean, this year's, I don't see us getting our shit together by the fall. I mean, enough to where I think the con, even though they're planning cons, like Reed has planned a show for Chicago here in December. I don't know who's going to go. They're planning New York for the fall as well. But that's just on paper. I mean, you still got to get the bodies through the door. You got to get people on the airplanes to go. So I think that spring 22 is when you'll really start to see cons, you know, MegaCon
Yeah.
and Emerald Con in the you know, right, coming out of the
Baltimore.
holidays. Yeah, I would say this time next year, we can really know. Although I spoke with San Diego, they said they're going to try to do something this year. You know, much smaller, obviously, maybe some kind of outdoor. You know, I don't know. They don't want to go 2 years with nothing, and I see that.
Right.
But California is in rough shape right now, so I don't know if they're going to have their shit together by this summer. You know, I know
Well,
Illinois
things
is
are
like
getting
the
better here in
apocalypse.
New York.
We're the same here in Illinois. I mean, if they, you know, it's not good here in Illinois. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of, I think here, at least in Albany, we're coming down off the holiday crest of the
yeah,
wave, but we
yeah,
still have Valentine's Day, and I'm sure people are going to be stupid and watch the Super Bowl together.
yeah, yeah. No, if we could just get, you know, the vaccine, look, it is what it is. It's a train wreck. But if we can maybe make some traction and get some progress, real progress by end of the summer, then maybe we can plan for 22, because I think 21 is still a wash. But listen, nothing more than life itself, then these kids got to go back to school in the fall. I mean, that is like paramount. I'll take going to the moon, kids going back to school, kids going back to school is ahead of going to the moon. I mean, it is like, I cannot tell you, if these kids don't go back to school in the fall, it will be talking again, you know.
Well, I see again on Facebook. I see your pictures that you posted. So I mean, I'm kind of there with you. Luckily, I have help on a couple days a week, but we'll get through it. Maybe
it takes a piece of your soul away. You know, that's all I can tell you. You know, when people ask why is my work in the hostage so fucked up, it's from homeschooling my kids. That's where those images come from having to be home.
So you're the hostage.
I am lit. Well, I was the hostage a long time ago. I don't know what I am now. You know, I mean, there's nothing left of me now. I'm like Tom Hanks on the raft, you know, in Castaway, where he's just throwing the logs in the water and he just gave up. That's me. I'm sitting on the raft, just taking it apart at this point. I don't even want to be rescued anymore. I just want to just ease into the water and drown.
All right. Well, hang in there and stay safe and stay healthy. And
all right, man.
You know, hopefully we'll get to meet in person soon, and
we'll come out on the other side. The most important thing is for people to stay healthy and not get sick. You know, that's the most important thing. All the other shit will be bad.
All right. Well, well, best of luck with the Kickstarter, and glad I was able to talk to you, because I missed talking to you. Back in October, which would have been New York Comic Con. So
yeah. Well, give me a heads up when you post this and all that, and we'll promote it and we'll get it out there.
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, thank you.
I should have it within the next couple of days.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so as promised, I'm back. That was a great interview I did with Sal, and I want to thank him again for taking the time today to just talk with us. It's always fun talking with him. So because I couldn't do it in the during the interview, I'm just going to the Kickstarter page and show you. As you can see, he's already reached the goal, but again, that means that just means that they're doing stretch goals. And as you can see here, there's some of the art. And again, I love the style. It's great. I really enjoy it. Definitely, check it out. As he said, they have rewards for every level. I mean, digital, hardcover. So yeah, definitely check it out and support it if you can. So yeah. So I have included the link in the show notes down below. So yeah, again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back next time. And until then, you can find, check us out here, um, here, and we hope to hear from you. And please subscribe. Thank you.